Now, this is a true story of a Marine wounded in Korea in 1950. At the time, he wrote a letter to his mother describing his encounter. Father Walter Muldy, who was a US Navy Chaplain, always affirmed the veracity of this narrative, as he has spoken with the Marine, his mother, and the outfit commander. Father Muldy made the letter public in 1951, before a gathering of 5,000 Marines at the Naval Base in San Diego. It has also been published in papers and periodicals and read on radio and television programs all over the world. The letter is as follows. Dear Mom, I wouldn't dare write this letter to anyone but you because no one else would believe it. Maybe even you will find it hard, but I have got to tell somebody. First off, I am in a hospital. Now don't worry, you hear me? Don't worry. I was wounded, but I'm okay, you understand? Okay. The doctor says that I will be up and around in about a month, but that's not what I want to tell you. Remember when I joined the Marines last year? Remember when I left, how you told me to say a prayer to St. Michael every day? You really didn't have to tell me that. Ever since I can remember, you always told me to pray to St. Michael the Archangel. You even named me after him. Well, I always have. When I got to Korea, I prayed even harder. Remember the prayer that you taught me? Michael, Michael of the morning, fresh cord of heaven adorning. You know the rest of it. Well, I said it every day. Sometimes when I was marching or sometimes resting, but always before I went to sleep. I even got some of the other fellas to say it. Well, one day I was with an advanced detail way up over the front lines. We were scouting for the commies. I was plodding along in the bitter cold. My breath was like cigar smoke. I thought I knew every guy in the patrol, when alongside of me comes another Marine I never met before. He was bigger than any other Marine I'd ever seen. He must have been 6'4" and built in proportion. It gave me a feeling of security to have such a body near. Anyway, there we were trudging along. The rest of the patrol spread out just to start conversation. I said, "Cold, ain't it?" And then I laughed. Here I was with a good chance of getting killed any minute, and I'm talking about the weather. My companion seemed to understand. I heard him laugh softly. I looked at him. "I've never seen you before. I thought I knew every man in the outfit." "I just joined at the last minute," he replied. "The name is Michael." "Is that so?" I said, surprised. "That is my name too." "I know," he said, and then went on. "Michael, Michael of the morning." I was too amazed to say anything for a minute. How did he know my name and a prayer that you taught me? Then I smiled to myself. Every guy in the outfit knew about me. Hadn't I taught the prayer to anybody who would listen? Why, now and then they even referred to me as St. Michael. Neither of us spoke for a time, and then he broke the silence. "We're going to have some trouble up ahead." He must have been in fine physical shape, or he was breathing so lightly I couldn't see his breath. Mine poured out in great clouds. There was no smile on his face now. Trouble ahead, I thought to myself. Well, with the commies all around us, that is no great revelation. Snow began to fall in great thick globs. In a brief moment the whole countryside was blotted out, and I was marching in a white fog of sticky particles. My companion disappeared. "Michael!" I shouted in alarm. I felt his hand on my arm. His voice was rich and strong. "This will stop shortly." His prophecy proved to be correct. In a few minutes the snow stopped as abruptly as it had begun. The sun was a hard, shining disk. I looked back for the rest of the patrol. There was no one in sight. We lost them in that heavy fall of snow. I looked ahead as we came over a little rise. Mom, my heart stopped. There were 7 of them. 7 commies in their padded pants and jackets and their funny hats. Only there wasn't anything funny about them now. 7 rifles were aimed at us. "Down, Michael!" I screamed and hit the frozen earth. I heard those rifles fire almost as one. I heard the bullets. There was Michael still standing. Mom, those guys couldn't have missed, not at that range. I expected to see him literally blown to bits, but there he stood, making no effort to fire himself. He was paralyzed with fear. It happens sometimes, Mom, even to the bravest. He was like a bird fascinated by a snake. At least that was what I thought then. I jumped up to pull him down, and that was when I got mine. I felt a sudden flame in my chest. I often wondered what it felt like to be hit. Now I know. I remember feeling strong arms around me, arms that laid me ever so gently on a pillow of snow. I opened my eyes for one last look. I was dying. Maybe I was even dead. I remember thinking, well, this is not so bad. Maybe I was looking into the sun. Maybe I was in shock. But it seemed I saw Michael standing erect again, only this time. His face was shining with a terrible splendor. As I say, maybe it was the sun in my eyes, but he seemed to change as I watched him. He grew bigger. His arms stretched out wide. Maybe it was the snow falling again, but there was a brightness around him, like the wings of an angel. In his hands was a sword that flashed with a million lights. Well, that is the last thing I remember until the rest of the fellas came up and found me. I do not know how much time had passed. Now and then I had but a moment's rest from the pain and fever. I remember telling them of the enemy just ahead. "Where is Michael?" I asked. I saw them look at one another. "Where's who?" asked one. Michael, the big Marine I was walking with just before the snow squall hit us." "Kid," said the sergeant, "you weren't walking with anyone. I had my eyes on you the whole time. You were getting too far out. I was just going to call you in when you had disappeared in the snow." He looked at me curiously. "How did you do it, kid?" "How did I do what?" I asked, half angry despite my wound. "This Marine named Michael and I were just..." "Son," said the sergeant kindly, "I picked this out for myself, and there just ain't another Michael in it. You're the only Mike in it." He paused for a minute. "Just how did you do it, kid? We heard shots. There hasn't been a shot fired from your rifle, and there isn't a bit of lead in them 7 bodies over the hill there." I didn't say anything. What could I say? I could only look open-mouthed with amazement. It was then the sergeant spoke again. "Kid," he said gently, "every one of those 7 commies was killed by a sword strike." That is all I can tell you, Mom. As I say, it may have been the sun in my eyes, it may have been the cold or the pain, but that is what happened. Love, Michael. What is the prayer that the Marines said every morning? "Michael, Michael of the morning, fresh cord of heaven adorning, keep me safe today, and in times of temptation, drive the devil away."